Hi everybody, my name is Victoria and today we are going to do my November wrap-up. I read 4 books this month. 2 of them were for nonfiction November. I really had intended to read 4 books for nonfiction November, but it didn't happen. It's been a really busy month for me at work. This is just a really busy time of year in general, so I'm not reading as fast as I would like to read, but I still managed to read 4 books, 2 fiction and 2 nonfiction. The first book that I read this month was Clockwork Prints by Cassandra Clare. This is book 2 in the Infernal Devices series. If you don't know about the Infernal Devices, where have you been? It's a popular series on BookTube, so most of you have seen this before. Clockwork Prints is following our protagonist Tessa, and Tessa is possibly a warlock, possibly something else. She has sort of mysterious powers that are kind of leading you to believe she's some sort of warlock, but also there's some quirks to her that mean she's maybe a part something else. Maybe she's part shadow hunter, we're not sure. And that's part of figuring out the story is what is Tessa's background. The villains in this book are kind of these clockwork creatures who are automatons basically, and they are humanoids. They're not human, but they are posing as humans and they are just clockwork inside. This book is strongly following the love triangle that is in the series. So there are 2 characters named Jem and Will, and Tessa has a sort of friendship relationship with each of them, both in different ways. Will is kind of the wild child, and he is unpredictable and, you know, exciting because he's unpredictable. And Jem is more steady, he's more dependable, he's kind of the one that, you know, you would want to take home to mother. While the love triangle really is still kind of annoying in this book, in my personal opinion, it's better than some because you do develop some empathy for both characters. Usually when I read love triangle sorts of books, there's one obvious choice and the character never picks that obvious choice. That's happening a little bit in this one, but you start to build a little more empathy for both of the characters in this book, and you get a little more backstory on Will. And overall, it was a fun read. They're not amazing novels, literary-wise, in my opinion. They're not fantastic writing. However, Cassandra Clare is excellent at telling a good story. I think Cassandra Clare is a really great storyteller. It's just in the delivery that it doesn't always do it for me. I gave this 4 stars because I really couldn't put it down. It's fun to read. I'm still having fun with the Shadowhunter world, and I enjoy that it's set in Victorian times. It's a kind of a fun time period to read about with the clockwork evil automatons as well. I'm very much looking forward to the 3rd book because that's the one that everyone raves about, that it's one of Cassandra Clare's best conclusions, so I'll be picking up Clockwork Princess hopefully in December. We'll see. I hope it doesn't wait till January, but we'll try. We'll try and pick it up in December. The next book that I read was for nonfiction November, and I picked up Jen Campbell's book, Weird Things Customers Say in Bookshops. This is just a fun read, good for some laughs. People say the darndest things, and it's terrifying, actually. I take it for granted that in my life I have been exposed to a lot of literary references, even if I haven't read those books per se. And it's just amazing some of the questions that people ask. Hi, Dusty. It's amazing some of the questions that people ask in bookshops because they just don't know and they're just really surprisingly ignorant. And you know, that's just kind of eye-opening sometimes. Also, it makes me never want to work in retail ever. So definitely pick up this book if you want to be terrified by the general public. The next book that I finished was also for nonfiction November, and that was Musicophilia by Oliver Sacks. This is a fascinating book all about music and the way it affects our brain. He is a fantastic neurologist, and he can kind of speak into the technical things that are happening in the brain while you're listening to music. He also talks a lot about people with different disorders relating to music. I found this book, instead of kind of weaving everything in to be related, it's more like every chapter is a different disorder or a different topic related to the brain and music. So for example, He has a chapter on a group of people with Tourette syndrome and how they use music. They use a drum circle to control their tics. And when they're drumming, they don't have any tics. But when they stop, the tics come back. It also talks a lot about the elderly and people with Alzheimer's and how people can forget their own name of their spouse, but they can remember how to read music and they can still perform music and have amazing memory attached to music, and they can still play the same pieces that they played in their youth and that they've studied. He also goes a bit into synesthesia, and so that would mean people who, when they hear music, they see colors or taste things when they're listening to music. If they hear a sound, it tastes bitter or it tastes sweet. So some really interesting things in here about the way that music crosses into our brains and the way that our brains react and the different disorders that you can have relating to music. And there's just some really interesting stories, first-hand accounts of people that Oliver Sacks has actually worked with and encountered in his professional life. I rated it 4 stars, and the only reason I didn't give it 5 stars was because some of the technical science-y things were a little dense for me, and I did feel like I lost interest when he went into some of the more technical things, and the brain functions weren't always explained to like a lay person like me who doesn't understand some of the science sides of it. Now, I did understand all the music sides of it, and so I know some of the reviews that I was reading, people complained because they didn't understand the music jargon and they said it was too musically technical. For me, I understood all that. It was the science part that was too technically jargony for me. So it'll be different for, you know, everyone depending on their own background knowledge and experience, but fascinating first-hand stories of music and the brain. Definitely can recommend this. And finally, in November, I picked up the Guernsey, I can never remember the title of this book, the Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Society by Mary Ann Shaffer and Annie Barrows. I haven't yet watched the Netflix movie of this. From what I understand, a lot of people kind of like the Netflix movie better than the book. I really enjoyed the book. I also gave it 4 stars. What kind of knocked it down for me was the letter format. And this is the second book that I've read this year in epistolary format. Maybe letter format is just not for me, and I don't jive with that kind of writing. I don't know. In this book, we follow our protagonist, Juliet, and Juliet has had some success as a writer, but she's a bit in a rut and she's looking for her next topic. She receives a random letter in the mail from someone named Dossie, and Dossie found a book on the island that has her name in it, just some like hand-me-down secondhand copy of a book, and found her name in it, and kind of wanted to bond with her over this book because it's Charles Lamb and he's falling in love with Charles Lamb and he wants to talk to someone about Charles Lamb. And so her name is in the book and he finds her and writes her a letter. And so through this initial conversation, she finds out more about the people on the island. She finds herself so entranced by the island and the people that she's been writing to that she decides to go visit Guernsey and wants to write a book about their experiences with the German occupation on the island. I found the writing style very personable. The main protagonist is very funny and there's just a lot of humor in this book, while also touching on many very serious topics, obviously, because we're talking about World War II, and there's some really sad stories in here, and it's always balanced with a tinge of humor, which I personally really enjoyed. I did feel like the letter format didn't always work for me. I had a hard time getting into it. I almost just wanted to give up on it and put it down after the first 10-20 pages, but I'm glad I stuck with it because it ended up being rewarding in the end. I will say it ends very abruptly and it's kind of, everything ties up in a neat little bow very quickly, and I felt like we needed a little more development to get to the ending. But that being said, I flew through this book. It's very short. It's not long. I would like to read the movie. Yeah. Words. I would like to watch the movie very soon. I know it's on Netflix, should still be up, and I've heard good things about it, so I can see how this would fall into a movie format very, very easily, and maybe I will actually enjoy the movie more because I didn't love reading the letters back and forth. That to me is just a little bit taxing. I don't know how to describe it, but it doesn't work. I don't think it works for me. So those are the books that I completed in November. I also started Felicia Day's memoir, which is called You're Never Weird on the Internet, almost. And I'm about halfway, well, a little more than halfway through it now, but I'm really enjoying this. This book is just giving me life right now because it's a quick, easy read, and I really relate to Felicia Day as a big nerd. And so this is like talking to a friend. I just am having so much fun reading this book. I may even finish it today. I would love to hear what you read this month. Did you participate in Nonfiction November? Did you meet all your goals? I didn't. I meant to read 4 books and I read 2, but that's okay. The 2 that I read, I had a great time reading and they were really fascinating. I hope you are having a great day, and I will chat with you in the comments down below. Be sure to follow me on other social media if you want to connect with me there. And let me know what you read this month. Have you read any of these books? I'd love to chat with you. All right, take care. Bye.